there's a concussion problem in the NFL, and the NFL is trying to stamp it out by instituting fines, maybe suspensions. A lot of players, and of course it was well publicized last week, DeSean Jackson coming off a concussion, sat out a couple weeks, and when he came back, it was with a different helmet, and it was with a helmet made by the Schutt company. In the NFL, they use Riddell helmets. And we welcome in Marketing Communications Manager at Schutt Sports, Glenn Beckman. Glenn, how you doing today?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Fantastic. Now, let me just touch on this. You don't have the exclusive contract with the NFL. Riddell does, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Now,
we actually have no contract. We're an authorized supplier, but that's it.
Okay, so any player can choose to wear your helmet at their own expense? Is that the way it works?
Almost. They can either buy the helmet themselves. 99% of the teams will buy the helmet if the player requests it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the CBA with the NFL Players Association says that the players can request any helmet they want to.
Okay, so the team, even though the team has a contract with Riddell, if certain players want your helmet, they can purchase them through the team, and so the player doesn't have to put it out of his own pocket.
Right, and that's primarily because of liability, Mike. Mm-hmm. If the NFL or any organization would mandate you have to wear Schutt helmets, you have to wear Riddell helmets, and then one of those players is seriously injured wearing one of those helmets, they're in a pretty liable position.
Okay.
So they have the licensing deal, but the players can request any helmet they want to.
All right, how is your helmet different than the one that's currently the Riddell helmet that's currently being worn by the majority of NFL players?
Well, ironically, the most worn helmet in the NFL is a helmet that was introduced about 20 years ago, and that's a Riddell VSR4. People kind of laugh at us when we tell them that most high school programs are wearing better, more advanced helmets than the NFL, and it's really true. The difference between our helmet and what other helmet makers, we introduced something in 2003 called thermoplastic urethane, or the acronym is TPU cushioning. And that's a military technology they've used for a couple of decades that we've adapted for football helmets. And it's now in its third generation in 2010. And it's under game-like conditions. It has better impact absorption and better heat management than the traditional foam that you find in other helmets.
All right, thermoplastic urethane. Now,
right.
Is this? I read somewhere where the military uses this type of material.
Right.
And that's because it absorbs what? Shock?
It absorbs more. Yeah, it does a better job of absorbing impact under extreme conditions. NFL helmet testing is designed basically in like ambient room temperature, like in your studio. It's 72 degrees or whatever it is. But when's the last time a helmet is 72 degrees when it's being used, by DeSean Jackson or anyone else running up and down the field? And under those kind of conditions, TPU absorbs significantly more impact.
What would be the drawback of your helmet? Again, we're talking to Glenn Beckman, who is the Marketing Communications Manager at Schutt Sports, and they make a helmet that DeSean Jackson wore last week. What would be the drawback? Is it bigger? Is it bulkier? Does it look goofier? Why would the players just not wear this as a matter of course?
Well, they are creatures of habit, Mike. You know that, all your years covering, all the teams in Philly. The first thing that we do, or the first thing a player does in the NFL when we hand him a new helmet, he puts it on, okay, it feels comfortable. He walks over to the mirror to see what it looks like. And, try as we might, educate them as much as we can. The smaller shelled helmets are what they grew up with. It's what they're comfortable with. And that's what they're going to stick with because they like the way it looks. There are bigger, they're called large standoff helmets. They are available and with our TPU cushioning, and they actually perform a little bit better than, say, the Air XP that DeSean Jackson went with. But because it's bigger, they choose not to for lack of a better word, vanity.
Okay. Now, were you involved in the bidding? I don't know. Riddell has a 5-year deal, so they signed it recently. Were you involved in the bidding, and did they just outbid you to be the exclusive provider of helmets?
I better not comment too much on that one, Mike. They've had the exclusive licensing deal with the NFL since the mid-'80s. It makes absolutely no sense to us why the NFL would have multiple brands that can be seen on the field in footwear, in headwear now. I saw a story that they were quoted that they're trying to find multiple brands for headwear and everything else. and yet when it comes to the most important piece of equipment on the field, they choose one. It makes no sense to us, and we've been trying to break down that door for 25 years.
Well, it makes a little sense if you look at it in dollars and cents. Now, do you think,
how
much
do you know what, Mike?
What?
You know what? They could make twice as much money. They could get X amount of millions of dollars from Riddell. They'd get the same amount of money from us, and then let the victor.
All right, so you share the wealth, in other words.
Yeah.
Well, how much do you think?
Double it.
How much is Riddell paying the NFL to be exclusive helmet provider?
I'm not really sure.
Give me an estimate. Guesstimate. 10 million?
It's millions. It's probably
20 million.
No. It's probably less than 10.
Okay, but it's close to 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe between 5 and 10, and that's just an educated guess.
All right, now let me ask you this: do you expect that the NFL will not come knocking on your door in the next few days, since they are now conscious of this and they do have a contract? But if it's out there proven that there's a better helmet out there, they're going to have to listen to it at least.
Well, we've been talking to them, and we've had TPU, and we've told them the numbers, and we've told them our information. We've had that information since 2003. And they just renewed the contract with Riddell last year for another 5 years. So,
okay,
read into it what you want.
All right. Well, listen, Glenn, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. It's good knowledge you gave us out there.
Anytime, Mike. Always
right.
glad to talk helmets.
Thank you very much. There you go. Always glad to talk helmets.